Good morning, Facebook family and friends, my faithful loyal YouTube subscriber. I'm Walter Hampton, Walter Lee Hampton II. I'm here with my mother, Alberta Hampton, and today it is Tuesday. It is the 30th of January, the year is 2018, and we're continuing our series of conversations about the black family. So we wanted to focus on, me and my mother were just sitting here discussing marriage and how black women have, unfortunately, in my opinion, made the decision that they don't need to be married to have children and raise them alone. And it's been truly disastrous for the overall black community because you have a one-parent household, one parent in the home trying to raise these children, one income, she's at work all day, who's raising the kids? I don't think this is good or productive. I think it's caused a lot of damage to the black community. I think it's really the problems that we see out here now is the direct result of women making a decision to have children alone without being married to a husband. And what are your thoughts?
Well, I have to agree with you, but I think it started a generation ago. I believe that when it's not the young generation that started it, but they're sitting at home watching their mother without a mate, and thinking that, and they realize that she's not doing the best that she could on her own, but they are not they're not able to focus on a mate because they've never seen a mate before. They don't know what makes a mate. If you get men coming in and out of your house when you have young girls there or young boys, and they'll tell you they don't like it, but what can they do about it? Women do not know how to go out and find a mate nowadays.
Right. So, what would be the correct way for a young woman to find a mate?
Well, it's going to have to take people like myself. We have to form a community for these young girls to be like mothers and stepping in to help them. They can't do it on their own. It's simply impossible. You cannot do what you've never done before. A scene done. People need to come. They go to church. Do they have a let's get together daughter and mother night? Even if you just being a substitute mother, they have to be trained. You have to see in life what you want.
So you think that if we start grooming these children at a younger age to understand the importance of marriage, and having children together. Okay, so I have a question for you, because a lot of people feel you really don't need I don't agree with this, but some people actually feel that one parent can raise children successfully today. What do you think?
I think it's impossible because they're coming up against too many objections to stop them from doing it. You can't go to work and have 2 or 3 or maybe even one child at the house and you're gone 8 hours. Where if you're a parent and you can stay with that child until that child starts school, train that child, bring that child up the way that they should go.
So I have a question for you. When you were married to my father, was that an ideal situation? He was working a full-time job. You were a full-time stay-at-home mom. You were there most of the day, cooking, cleaning, take care of the house. Making small jobs here and there at the crossing. I remember you were a crossing guard when we went to school, but you were mainly,
Boy, and had a lot of child care programs in the house.
So, but you were mainly home all day. Do you think that was an ideal situation?
I think you got to remember.
I know it was a different time and a different era.
That I grew up looking at a father. My father was in the house. He might not have provided for us the way that he should have, but he was there. And I loved my father. I just felt like he couldn't help the situation. He came from a long line of alcoholics. But I saw a man in the house.
So you understood the importance of it.
I understood that, you get married and then raise a family.
All right, so somewhere along the way, your daughters didn't walk down this path. Well, they did. Well, I know Mia was married. I don't know about Jackie.
Jackie when she married?
To Lamar, but not
okay.
Joe. But somehow or another, they had children first before the marriage took place. They were young.
You go back to 18, 19, or 20, and you still consider that too young to have children. I mean,
it hasn't been successful for anyone that I know of who's been 18, 19, and 20. I don't know anyone who brought a child into the world under the age of 20 who's had any type of success in their lives at that point. They struggled. And my whole theory about life isn't about struggling. But if you're bringing a child into the world and you can barely feed you yourself and pay your rent and your bills, and you're struggling to get diapers, and it just doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me then, when it was happening 30 years ago, and it doesn't still make sense to me today. That's why I had no children.
Well, in some cases, struggling is not bad when you're young. You're going to start off struggling. Walter didn't he went from job to job until he finally got on at the steel mill. Mm-hmm. So, you're going to struggle. Like that's
but again, you had a man in your life struggling to pay the bills. Y'all were together, married, right?
Yes.
Living together in the same household. He was out there trying to jump. Versus these women today don't have nobody there. In most cases. How do you feel about interracial marriages? Do black women just give up on trying to have a black mate and focus on trying to find a decent man no matter his race?
Well, let me tell you like this. They're saying that in the next century, because of the interracial marriages that are taking place now, black and white, a man might marry a black woman, a white woman might marry a black man. They're saying that the children that are coming after this century, mm-hmm. that they will be not able to tell
their race. They'll be more mixed.
What race we are.
So you support interracial marriages?
I have no problem with them, mm-hmm. I don't have any problem with people marrying outside.
Do you think that's probably the best solution to the problems that are ailing the black community?
It looks like it's going to be the best solution. Because our young folks are going through a lot, our young men mm-hmm. and our women. So if they want a race where everybody looks alike, everybody, that's where we're headed. We're headed there regardless of what you're saying now mm-hmm. anyway. We're
headed to a world where there will be more interracial marriages and mixed children.
We're already on the road.
You think that would help the black community?
Oh, sure it is. Sure it will. Then they won't look at a black man and think down to this person or he's not capable of doing something. Some white men just simply don't like black men because they're black men.
Yeah, a question. I think I asked you this in one of the videos before. I just did a video before you got here about I've lived in Atlanta for 30 years. I don't have any white friends or any white associates ever in the past 30 years I've lived. Have you? I think I asked you this in another video. I can't remember. I maybe we were just talking.
Well, the only ones I really had were church people. Nobody outside of the church. I meet people and we don't exchange phone numbers. We greet each other in the stores, but not that I can say that somebody.
So, do you think interracial marriages and more interracial marriages between whites and blacks and Hispanics and whatever?
It's going to happen.
Will that help race relations?
It's already taking place.
But will
they're saying. Mm-hmm. Because of the interracial marriages, you won't be able to know
who's what. And so
they're looking for this.
Okay, and that will improve race relationships.
Of course it will. Because they're accepting their grandchildren now. Mm-hmm. When you look at TV and they got the little colored girl, the little mixed girl sitting next to the older couple, mm-hmm. Saying we're accept our lives are changing, mm-hmm. and they love that girl.
I got you.
So people love children, so that they're already preparing for it.
Question, because some black people. I'm on the internet more often than you are, and I read certain blogs where they say the black race is being extinguished and they want black women to have more black babies by black men, and they want to they just want these women to have these children. I've read this stuff. Yeah. They don't care whether they can feed them or take care of them. They just want them to have these children so they can continue to grow the black race. Does this matter?
It doesn't matter what they want. I mean, you can already see the racial change. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have poor black men with a white woman and a bunch of cute little mixed children. It's taking place right before our eyes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what somebody wants. I mean, both races are going to lose out.
Gotcha.
And this is the way it's going to be.
But when you say they both races are going to lose out, would it lose out in what way? In the numbers that define the race, or because I don't view it as losing out. I think it's more a melting pot, a blending of different races to and it could possibly work to alleviate some of the issues we have here in the United States.
When I say losing out, I'm thinking about the people that you said that telling black women to have more babies.
Mm-hmm. By black men.
Right. So if the white man is marrying the black woman and the white man is marrying the black woman, nobody is losing.
Gotcha. It's bringing in children.
Because whatever's going on in the world has to stop. This racial thing has to stop.
Since you've been here in Atlanta, have you encountered racism here? That you can think of? Any racist behavior? Do you think Atlanta's a racist city?
It's a separated city. I know that much. I wouldn't want to say that it's a racist city. I think I would have to know the people, and they would have offended me for my race in order for me to say
well,
that.
In the 30 plus years you've been here, have you ever had any racially...
No.
Any type of race?
They direct that more at black men than black women.
Okay.
Black women are more accepted.
Gotcha. So you never had any issues with them.
Mm-mm.
But you do realize that there's a level of racism that keeps black men in particular down here.
The black men are suffering all throughout the United States just because of their color, and it is an unfair situation.
Are any of these black men at any fault for some of the issues that are taking place within our community? Are we at fault at all? Can we directly? Is it something we can do to correct these issues? For example, why aren't black men marrying these women that they have children by? I know they probably have to marry all 5 of them baby dated girls, but they can't marry all 5 of them, but at least marry one of them.
Well,
they have these women. I mean,
it's a big situation because too many women are raising children, and they're not raising them to the full effect that they could if they had a provider, like you said, in the home.
Mm-hmm.
They're with the children. They have nice stuff. Somebody's the daddy is being responsible. He comes home and picks his children up and hold them in his lap. They're not getting that. They're not getting that anymore. Daddy's not sitting there watching a football game. They don't know where daddy is or who daddy is.
Is it? I think it's probably the number one issue within the black community that this has to be corrected. The dynamics of the family, the mother, the father.
The white folks are getting ready to correct it. They said that in a century from now, there will be no difference in the race. They're already correcting it. Their children are marrying outside of their race. Mm-hmm. So everybody sees it coming.
So you think this will begin to...
Of course, it's going to. The world used to be all mixtures of people all mixed together, and then they started separating them, and Africans and Haitians and all. What?
All right, so since we're talking more about women at this point, African American black women in the United States, because I've heard some black women make the comment, well, white folks aren't interested in us, in black women, and I don't know if it's true or not. I mean... What do you think? Do you think there's some truth to that? Or?
White men have always been interested in black women, always.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know the black women that might say that because, maybe they're just having, the right person just hasn't come along. But white men love black women. Okay. Everybody knows that.
But we know black men love white women.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that.
There's a large group. I wouldn't say all black men love white women, but there's a large group of black men I think that are very attractive.
In the next century, they're going to be loving them because they won't have any other choice. Black women, there will not be any black women, and the race will come together as one. It's going to be one.
Remixed. We were discussing the young lady from the video last week, and she was diagnosed with HIV. She's raising 4 children alone. You said that video kind of stuck out in your head a lot for that. You kept saying you wanted to say something about her situation. What was it that you wanted to say?
The only thing that bothers me is I'm worried about her, but then I'm saying I'm living in Atlanta. The same thing is going on around me we as mature women need to find a place. I mean, look what all the black men that have started sessions for the black young boys.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to do something for these girls. They need a mother, somebody to step in that can train them and show them how to get love from a man. Besides going to bed with him.
And you made the statement, why are all these women contracting HIV? Do you understand how people contract HIV, right?
Sexual interchange, of course.
So, but unprotected sex.
Unprotected sex.
They have not been properly educated on the use of condoms. There's women's condoms, there's men's condoms. There's all kinds of stuff that could work to alleviate that issue, but nobody's using them. And that's why these numbers continue.
And they have the highest rate, they say, in the South, in Atlanta particularly.
Atlanta, Florida. I was reading some Florida, Atlanta. It's Alabama, South Carolinas. I was shocked at these numbers throughout the Southeast when it comes to HIV in particularly Black Americans in the Southeast.
You got to go back again to the home. You have mothers. I mean, like I was telling you about this one girl when she turned 12. On down the line, she had all these children. I'm dealing with the girl now that her mother had her when she was 14. They don't see protection in the home. They're not being trained. Train up a child. You got to let them see. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to wash clothes. All they want to do is have a man. But you got to have a man. You need to be responsible.
It's shocking because a friend of mine, he's 19 or 20 or 21 years of age. He came over and I was cooking some food. He was like, you know how to cook? And I was like, yeah. You don't know how to cook?
He didn't see nobody doing that at home.
I met so many young guys, men and women, who don't know how to cook. I'm like, do you know that? I mean, it's not that complicated. They got cookbooks and YouTube videos, and you can learn. But something's going amiss here. That
this generation is lost. They don't know how to go to school to perform. They don't know how to perform out in the public. Well, you know, it used to be, you have any jobs that you have as a teenager.
Oh, my God.
You didn't have to rob nobody.
No.
You went to work.
Yes.
But they're not getting that training anymore. Like you said, these women are just having children like litters of puppies.
Yeah.
And it's unfair to society and the children because everybody suffers.
Yeah.
So we need mature people. You know, you see women all the time with a bunch of children. It's unfortunate. I'm in the car sometimes, and I would love to, you know, get her out. I used to do this when I walked around Atlanta.
I've done it recently. I picked up this lady. She was raining, and she was pushing the stroller, and she was parking in the street, and see all these kids. I pulled over and put her right into my truck, put her in, and gave her a ride. And she was going to this apartment complex, and I was like, "These are all your kids?" She said, "All my children." And they were like, "Them kids couldn't have been no more." The oldest cat to be maybe about 7 or 8. She had one in the stroller and one in her arm. Yeah. And my God, what
that's the rate. That's how they're doing it now.
She had 5 kids with her, walking in the rain. I'm like, where are you coming from? We had to go to the grocery store.
They all had different daddies.
No, actually, she said they all had the same daddy.
That was wonderful.
They all had the same daddy.
That was wonderful.
But she was walking in the rain.
That was simply wonderful.
She didn't. I was like, you could have called Uber. I actually gave that girl my phone number, and I would pick her up occasionally and drop her back and forth before I lost contact with her. I just thought the situation was sad.
It was sad.
And I can imagine being in that type of position where I have to go grocery shopping. I got to drag all my children with me. I have nobody to watch my children at home. And I remember you saying something about that was the point where Grandma was involved. Grandma would come to the house. I remember Grandma being actively involved in the house. If you weren't there, it was either Grandma or Daddy or
cousin or something.
Yeah, Helen or somebody was there at the household. So you can go do different stuff.
Yeah.
But you didn't have that relationship with your daughters like that.
And you have to realize, and I tell you this all the time, people will interfere in the raising of your children if they're not doing a good job with theirs. And they'll influence yours into thinking, you don't have to go through that. She can't tell you what to do.
Because they in a way shut you out.
Because of the influence people had on them, relatives. Jealous.
Jealous of your relationship with your daughters and telling them that they don't have to listen to you and keep you out of the...
That's right.
Because had you been more involved in their lives, I think the situation with your grandchildren, my nieces and nephews. Is that right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been different. I think if you could have had more input.
I have a better relationship now.
Only because 2 of the women are deceased.
And they call on me.
And if they were not deceased, where would the situation be if they were not? I mean, seriously, because I never understood why they were so adamant about you not having an active
I don't
role.
think Jackie would say that to me. I think she allowed me to influence her.
I agree with you on that.
Because she always, even up to her last day, we were together all the time. She allowed a bad influence. And certain people were determined that this was not... I say people, but we have to realize we're up against all kinds of forces.
Of course. I used to didn't believe in demonic forces, but honey, I'm beginning to see the light.
and the Bible, this is
I'm serious.
I'm the spiritual world.
There's been some stuff that just has taken place over the past 12 months, and I just said, these must got to be some demons running around here. Just some very demonic type people doing some very vicious stuff. I don't even want to go to the details of it. But if your relationship had been different, and that's why I keep asking you this. I know I've asked you this before. If you could go back in time, particularly with Mia and Jackie and their children, what would you have done differently?
If I had the mind that I have now, I would have moved them. Like a lot of people move out from around bad influences with their children. They take their children and they go out into the rural area. They move to a place where they got a lot of ground where the kids could grow and not be influenced. Influence is a destructive thing.
Oh, I agree.
And their influence was bad on them. Remember,
but you would have to move us before they got into the teenage years.
You know what? Sugar moved us outside of Chicago into Decatur, Michigan, out in the country. And we didn't have that, even though things wasn't the best, we still went on and had a family and raised them and did, had husbands in the house.
So, if you had a much more positive influence if you could have been more involved and the reason why I'm asking this question, because so many women are doing the same thing Mia and Jackie doing, shutting out certain family members and friends.
That's right.
Mia didn't just shut you out, she shut me out. She didn't want to hear nothing nobody had to say. Jackie did the same thing. We could not tell these women nothing about how to raise their children. They didn't want to hear it. They shut everybody out and did what they wanted to do. And this created a lot of conflict. That's still being dealt with today. It's still a lot of dysfunction.
It messed up their lives. I mean, because that's what a family is for. We come along beside each other and help each other.
It's like they went out and built brick walls up.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell me how to raise my children. You don't have to listen to Uncle Walter. You don't have to listen to Grandma. We do what we want to do here. And now we're trying to tear these walls down now. I mean, Mark has called me more frequently lately.
Well, they don't have anyone else to call on. They don't have that foolishness. After a while, they'll see that these people love us. These people are concerned about us. We wish we could go back to the years where we could have went to in the Army or went to Job Corps and we would be on our feet.
We were trying to push them to do something positive.
But now they're struggling.
Oh, they struggling.
Because of some bad influence that came out of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And they're struggling. One wanted to be a musical. One wanted to go into electronics. If they had not, if I said go into electronics, no.
Anything positive that we tried to...
They'd stop it right away.
They'd stop it.
She'd stop it right away.
And I never understood it. They didn't want anything positive to take place with their children because they wanted to raise their children the way they wanted to do it. And they did what they wanted to do. And that's why the situation is the way it is now. And it's not just me and Jackie. There's a ton of women out here doing the same mess. They don't want anybody actively involved in raising them children. I watch the news all the time. They're talking about going back to paddling students in school. And these parents are, they're not going to paddle my child. I'm thinking, child, I got paddled in school. And so but anyway, we're going to conclude this video in a minute. Anything you want to say before we go to
the generation that came up, that's probably in their 30s, and I'm not knocking everybody, I'm just saying there was a lot of confusion in that. You know, the parents and the children fell out. They didn't have the influence. My grandmother was there. My aunts and uncles were there. We were close. We went to different places together.
It was a family structure. The family structure was united. And then starting in the late 80s, mid 80s, 90s, it became fractured and separated. Not just in our family, but in
most families.
Most families. That's why we have a rate now where we have so many women who are alone raising children by themselves, whether they wanted to or not. This is the scenario we're dealing with, and whether or not they can be changed, I don't know. But anyway, we conclude this video. We'll be back in a few minutes. Today it is Tuesday, January 30th. The year is 2018. I'm Walter Lee Hampton II. This is my mother, Alberta Hampton. I'm going to say the comments have been very nice. I'm going to show you the comments. Everybody seems to really liking the videos, so they're loving the stuff that we're doing. So we'll be back in a few minutes and we'll continue this conversation.
People know, and the young girls need us.
Well, we're going to figure out a way to, I want to hear your ideas. How do you reach ideas of how to reach out to these young women? How can you reach them? How can you make some positive changes here? Anyway, we're out of here. We'll be back in a few minutes.